Welcome back to Radio Entrepreneurs. I'm Jonathan Freedman, and our next guest in the studio, Rob Mungovan of TeamLogic IT. Welcome to Radio Entrepreneurs.
Thanks for having me, Jonathan. Nice to speak with you this afternoon.
Nice to speak with you. Why don't you start, tell us a little bit about TeamLogic, what it is that you guys do?
Yeah, so TeamLogic IT is a managed service provider is the industry name for our business model. It's basically outsourced IT services with a focus on small and medium-sized businesses and businesses of all type. People will say, "What's your focus, Rob?" And I'll say it's small businesses that use information technology to run their business, which is almost everybody. So,
well, today you'd be hard pressed, I think, to find anybody that doesn't apply to, from your corner store to anybody is probably using some form of IT.
Yes, correct. That's right. So it's
nice.
A little redundant to say that, but
well, I was going to say, when you had the foresight to get into this business, you at least thought, okay, what's going to apply to every business at some point in the future? And I don't know how long TeamLogic IT has been around, but maybe you were ahead of the curve.
Yeah. Yep. So So I have an office here in Needham, Massachusetts. TeamLogic is a national franchise. So we have more than 270 offices around the country. And I own and operate the one here in Needham, and we've focused on the surrounding towns all around Needham, Wellesley, Newton, Brookline, Natick, Chestnut Hill.
So the benefit of listeners that aren't really, sure whether or not service like yours or something that you guys do is needed or necessary for their business. You said managed IT services. Now,
yes.
Some people that means cloud computing and running the apps so that we don't have to worry about it. Some people it might mean distributed, or you service what's in our offices. Can you tell us a little bit of? I know that's probably been an evolution over the years, but what part applies to what it is that you guys do for businesses?
Yes. So if you compare, for those of our listeners that have experience working at large companies have dedicated IT staff, and these are people whose whole job at the company is to update, maintain, patch, and replace, and manage all the services that all of the employees use to run the business. So that's what we do. We do it for smaller companies that don't have a need or a requirement to have full-time on-premise staff or paid employees to do it. So we're an outsourced version of what people typically have in very large companies. So that includes everything from managing the desktop accounts, email, a lot of Microsoft 365 support we provide. So it's SharePoint, OneDrive, MS Teams. We provide support for the Google Suite tools as well. And then there's a cybersecurity component as well. It's data backup and protection. So we back up our customers' data typically to a cloud location once or twice a day, depending on what the policy is that's in place. We provide email threat protection, which is essentially filtering emails out of their inbox prior to their arrival in there if they have suspicious content or are deemed to be of a suspicious origin. And we also provide an infrastructure, so networking, Wi-Fi setup, on-prem servers if they use on-prem servers, or off-prem servers in the cloud, depending on what they want. So just about everything.
So really is a whole host of services that virtually any company could use.
Correct,
has there been an evolution, or has there been a change? Obviously, again, back to, I don't know when you acquired the franchise. COVID obviously threw a curveball to everybody. Was it prior to that? Has the business model changed? Has it pivoted? Have you seen demand for services change over the last couple of years in terms of how your clients use you? Those types of things.
Yeah, thanks, Jonathan. Good question. So I've been in communication with lots of other TeamLogic owners and other managed service providers in the area. And one thing that I've noted that's occurred, that's part of an evolution of this business model, is that historically, going back 5 to 10 years ago, we were break fix people. So IT people would come on site and fix a problem once it occurred, and you get paid, a fixed amount, whatever it is that you quoted to come in and fix the problem. It's evolved to what's truly a managed service now. So that means most people in my business, myself included, take a preventative approach of proactively maintaining our customers' IT infrastructure, making sure it's up and running and it's patched, and alerting them to potential problems so that the business does not go down, so the IT system does not go down. And that truly is a groundswell of a change in the way we run these businesses. It's also better. It's better for the industry, these service providers such as myself, to get into this preventative mode, because we receive a monthly payment from each customer to maintain their system, and it's a steadier revenue stream. It's
interesting how the model has evolved, and when you think about it, typically from a response time perspective, a traditional sort of service business, and it doesn't matter whether it's IT infrastructure or HVAC or any of that. It's I got to wait for the guys to get here to fix it, type of thing, and we're down or I'm down or whatever it is. It would seem to me that with the evolution of your business model has also been probably a lot of tools that you guys deploy to be able to manage systems remotely and preventatively, so to speak. Has that been what has allowed the business to really turn to a much more, get ahead of the curve issue and preventative, because it's probably a lot simpler to avoid, to block a threat than it is to clean a threat or things of that nature?
Yeah, so that's a good question, Jonathan. There have been a lot of tools that have been developed and delivered to people like myself who interact with the end customers, to automate a lot of these processes. So that in many cases, not most cases, we'll say 50-50, we don't have to go on site. We can manage all of our customers' machines right here from our office in Needham. There's lots of tools. This Zoom meeting is an example of the kind of tool that's been adopted, widely across all industries. So we have the automation of managing the remote machines, and then there's a lot of whole infrastructure and ecosystem of vendors that have cropped up around us to design and build software for us, primarily software, that helps us, push out the managed service model. So there's a whole bunch of vendors behind us too, many of whom you've never heard of, because their model is selling strictly through the channel of the managed service provider.
And do all of those, given the nature of your business model and being part of a larger structured franchise operation, do those things come in a national scale? Do they come regionally? I'm just curious. You mentioned vendors, particular, like if we're talking, and I'll throw out whether it's data network management software or cybersecurity. Do those things come push through a national model, or as a franchisee, do you have the ability to pick and choose what you want to use, or that is and I do have a follow-up question, but go ahead with that.
So the franchise model works really well for this type of businesses as well, because of the fact that there's so much technology available and so many vendors are coming at people like me all the time trying to promote their capability. The franchise headquarters does a lot of the technology vetting for us, and they update us on what the best of breed product is for a particular problem. They also negotiate pricing for us, so we're able to pool all of the 270 locations of TeamLogic to get a discounts on certain types of technologies. So to answer your question, it's a little bit of both. I get recommendations from the national entity, but I'm also free to pick and choose what I want. But the recommendations from the national entity also come with predefined discounts and preferential treatment in certain cases based on the size of our organization.
Interesting, because one of the things, as I was asking the question, I was thinking to myself, boy, you're in a world that's probably changing, forget about monthly, probably weekly and daily in terms of new products and tools. And as you said, just the volume of people, vendors that must approach you to try and sell you, the latest and greatest that they have. You'd have to have several of you full time, probably just vetting that. So it makes sense that the franchise model would help with that data aggregation, knowledge base, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, no, that's absolutely true. Yeah.
Interesting. What about the sort of implementation for you as an entrepreneur and as an IT person in terms of the skill sets of your employees? Have you seen that evolve over the last little while? As again, because they're not dealing with baking the same cake from the same recipe every day. The tools change, the technologies change. Is that something that as a business owner is challenging in this environment in IT managed services, or is that a big investment for you to keep them educated and knowledgeable and bringing vendors in? Or
Yes, it is. So, the technicians that work for me are critical to the operation of this business. While I have a technical background, I've mostly been at a managerial level through most of my career. So I don't, or very rarely do I go on site and fix a problem for my customers. Instead, I engage with them and hire and ensure that the technicians are trained and a good fit for the business. And so they have to stay up to date with technology. A lot of times they're learning. I bring in new tools for them to learn so that we can then apply them to our customers. It's also important that they have good people skills. It's in many cases that it's the technicians that represent the business to the end user. Now they know that I'm here, but it's the technician that's online helping them through a problem. So they have to have good people skills. That's very important. And they have to have good technical skills, and they have to stay up to date with those skills. And there's all kinds of different programs that they can take advantage of to stay up to date as well. So,
excellent. Well,
yeah.
it sounds like an ever-evolving, changing, exciting business to be in, and obviously with the pace of technology, and you guys must be cause for you to stay on your toes, so to speak.
Yes.
Any thoughts of your clients hit you up with topical things like AI? How am I going to use AI? Hey, Rob, help me strategize about AI, or use of some of the cutting edge tools, or is that something that you guys don't get actively involved in really in terms of pushing solutions or technologies?
I mean, with respect to AI, my customers will dabble in it on their own. I mean, a lot of people are testing it out, experimenting with it. We don't have, I wouldn't say a lot of product capability, in this space right now that's driven by AI. It may be at some point, but it's still very immature from the perspective of, some of the things that we do. So I don't have a lot of inquiry regarding that. Most of my customers, their needs are really much more fundamental than that. They're more like, I lost my Wi-Fi, Rob, and I forgot my password. And oh, by the way, my email stopped coming in yesterday at noon. So those are the things that hit us continuously, really. And
I would imagine those are plentiful. I hope those aren't. I hope nobody's getting to you 24 hours after they lost their email, because that's like in dog's years, that's about a week.
Exactly. Yeah,
So,
it's more like 30 minutes or maybe 10 minutes.
my hair is on fire. Where's my email? Understood.
Yeah.
We all probably appreciate. Actually, mine went down on my phone the other day from a phone upgrade, and I was like, oh, that's what it's like not to be bombarded every 30 seconds.
Yeah.
So all good stuff. Our guest has been Rob Mungovan, TeamLogic IT. If people want to get in touch with you, Rob, what's the best way for them to reach out, make contact with your company? I presume if they want to talk about managed services, IT services, or anything that you guys do.
Yeah, the easiest thing to do is just look me up on LinkedIn, Robert Mungovan or Rob Mungovan, TeamLogic IT, Needham, Massachusetts, and I should pop right up. And send me a message, please. I use LinkedIn a lot, so I think it brings a kind of an intimate experience to the initial communication with somebody.
And Rob, I probably should ask you this question, but given that you're part of a national franchise, I'll back into it. If somebody comes to you and they have an operation in this area, or they have an operation in other, do you work in tandem with other franchisees from a geography standpoint?
We do. All of the TeamLogic owners cooperate very closely, particularly if they have a customer that has a national presence, say headquarters in Boston, but offices in Chicago, Atlanta, and West Palm. Then I have colleagues in each of those locations I can call and ask them to get involved with the customer in those particular locations.
Great. So true national footprint. Excellent.
Yeah.
Great. Again, my guest has been Rob Mungovan, TeamLogic IT. It's been a pleasure having you on Radio Entrepreneurs.
Jonathan, thank you very much. I enjoyed it.
Great. And we'll be right back with another segment on Radio Entrepreneurs.